Stellar Blade is the latest PlayStation exclusive to drop on the PS5, and our very own Sammy Barker has experienced it all for this review, which has been adapted into video by me. Hello there guys, it's Aaron here from Push Square, and let's see if Stellar Blade has been worth the wait in our PS5 review. Debuts don't get much stronger than Stellar Blade. Korean developer Shift Up, the team behind the saucy smartphone gacha Nikkei Goddess of Victory, has chosen the path of most resistance, turning its hand to AAA territory with this rambunctious action-adventure outing. Despite the inherent risk involved, it stuck the landing like an acrobatic anime heroine, backflipping her way between deadly laser beams. That is to say that this is a PS5 exclusive well worth playing. You are Eve, a buxom super soldier with an unshakable resolve. Earth has been inhabited by an extraterrestrial race of Cthulhu-esque aberrations named the Tibets, and it's up to you and a skeleton crew of allies to bring the fight to the otherworldly invaders. A largely trite storyline involving artificial intelligence ensues as the studio navel-gazes familiar themes like what it means to be human. While the narrative never really hits the emotional beats that it's gunning for, largely due to the dreadful English dub, the script does at least commit, and there's plenty of lore to pore over if you have the patience to read through the hundreds upon hundreds of text logs that you'll uncover over the course of the 25-ish hour campaign. Combat straddles a middle ground between Dark Souls and Devil May Cry, and perhaps could be best compared to the likes of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice and God of War Ragnarok, where rhythmic parrying plays a pivotal role in the loop. Enemies can be staggered by successfully defending against their assaults, leading to a counter-attacking style that's much more fulfilling than it may seem at first. While the action is undoubtedly at its best in one-on-one scenarios, an enormous skill tree which slowly fleshes out your combat capabilities keeps things fresh from start to finish and gives you plenty of tools to see off your antagonists. Said aggressors adopt sublime monster designs, both artistically and mechanically. Foes take various grotesque forms, and while the gameplay largely sticks to its combat blueprint throughout, you're constantly being asked to refine your fighting style in order to progress. This is accentuated during the many boss encounters, when you're forced to think on your feet through multiple phases of battle. While the action can be demanding on its default difficulty, a smartly implemented story mode includes assists which aid with timing up defensive counters, providing a helping hand without entirely automating the immensely gratifying act of executing a perfect dodge or parry. There is more to the game than cutthroat combat, of course, and the developer has a good grasp of pacing as it slows down the flow of the action when it senses you need a breather. Some light platforming aspects can frustrate due to a lack of precision, but the puzzles are largely enjoyable, and the developer even incorporates a handful of different hacking minigames to keep things feeling fresh. Furthermore, while the vast majority of the campaign subscribes to a wide, linear format whereby you're funneled in one predominant direction, but given the opportunity to explore off the beaten path, a couple of larger scale levels give you the freedom of a small sandbox. These open world areas are generally small enough to accommodate the limited traversal options in your arsenal, and while they have few meaningful landmarks, they do give the adventure a little space to breathe. Side quests largely boil down to following waypoints and interacting with quest markers, but the developer always adds context to what you're doing, even if the vast majority of the subplots tend to take dark and depressing turns. Exactly how much you engage with the optional content is really up to you, but completing everything can effectively double the overall length of the adventure, and there's payoff in terms of alternative endings. Shift Up does show a lack of experience with the way it handles its post-game, however. While titles like God of War Ragnarok allow you to continue your adventure beyond the credits, regardless of what world-changing events have occurred, there's a hard point of no return here. And when the title tells you in no uncertain terms to wrap up your business, it really does mean it, because there's no going back. It's a real shame because despite the bleak state of Earth, it's a fun place to run around in. An absolutely sublime soundtrack which effortlessly transitions from K-pop to electronic ambience to all-out hair metal is one of the defining features of the foray, and it never really loses its luster after even hours of hearing the same audio on loop. The visual identity is also very strong. This isn't quite a technical tour de force, but the art direction is excellent, and its targeted 60 FPS performance remains remains relatively robust even in the most intensive moments using its balance mode. There's a fair amount of meat on the game's bones too. Eve can unlock all sorts of cosmetic options from entire outfits through to her earrings, and she's a character you'll grow an attachment to, even if she is a bit of a beige people pleaser throughout. An obligatory fishing minigame adds some variety to the title's activities, while collectibles have their own unique reward loops. Some quests conclude with mementos which you can display at your home base, which is a nice touch that adds personality. Furthermore, as previously alluded to, the gameplay constantly feels like it's evolving. It never strays from its counter-attacking underpinnings, but as you unlock copious skills, you'll tap into a more offensive mindset, which will make punishing staggered opponents that little bit more exciting. It does mean that starting a new game with your abilities stripped can sadly feel like a step backwards, but Shift Up has promised that New Game Plus is coming in a future free update. So, Stellar Blade is a slick console debut from a developer clearly on the rise. With an ever-evolving, counter-attacking combat system, some superb art direction, and a sensational soundtrack, this is the kind of back-to-basics PS5 outing that fans have been pleading for. A dire English dub and some trite story beats mean the studio still has plenty of room to refine its craft, but Eve's inaugural outing is largely excellent across the board, and destined to become a firm favourite among PS5 enthusiasts. Thank you for checking out our Stellar Blade review. Let me know if you're picking up this one when it drops on PS5 on April 26th. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And until next time, I've been Aiden and this has been Push Square.